So this first chart is sort of a survey chart with a bunch of bars on it. And let's take a look at it. So basically what we're looking at is people were asked, what do you think of these 6 questions? And when you think about your answers, what do you think about big companies? What do you think about small companies? Or maybe do you think they're both the same? Or you're not sure? So here we go. First of all, which companies do you think charge lower prices? Well, 44% said the big companies do. That's like Costco. Only 19% said small companies do. So that's not very surprising. But then they started diving in a little bit because that's like common sense. Amazon, Costco, you know, they've all got Sam's Club. There you expect to get the lower prices, even Target. And smaller companies you expect to be more boutique. Plus, a small company's not going to have all that stuff the way, you know, Sam's Club and Walmart and Target do. But who contributes more to the economy? Interesting, 28% said small companies contribute more to the economy. 27% said big companies. So it was almost even, you know, 1% for small company. And interesting to see that 29% of America thought both did, which I thought was very interesting. And then here's the one that really got going, because these next 4 questions were a sweep for small companies. Who makes the higher quality products? Only 12% thought that the big companies do, 38% thought that the small companies do, and 34% thought both equally did. Interesting. So who's better for the environment? Better environmentally. Only 7% said the big companies were, 42% said small companies were, and 25% both about the same. Then who's more ethical? Here you go. 6% thought the big companies were more ethical. Maybe that's because people have been laid off. Maybe some people had some bad experiences. Maybe they worked for some ginormous company and it just didn't go right and they didn't like the way they were treated. Nonetheless, 50% thought that the small companies in America were more ethical and 23% thought it was both. And then treats the employees better. Well, no surprise here. 8% thought that the big companies treated employees better, but 53% thought that small companies treat them better, and 21% said both equally. So isn't it interesting? Once you get past price, everybody favored the small company. So if you're part of the survey or you agree with the survey, you agree what was there, you know, and if this is from u.gov, so they have their own position on the internet. You have to remember u.gov comes from a certain political point of view. So it's probably going to be a little bit more anti-big company and more for the little guy. But nonetheless, that survey is so broad, it really says that America really seems to trust and respect the small companies a little bit more, probably because they're more approachable. It's not, you know, you never meet the CEO. If you work for Costco, you probably don't even know who the CEO is. Working at a local store, and that's all you're doing. Well, corporate said these are the policies that for employees, and you know, just stuck up on the wall at Costco. I mean, who knows? Smaller company, you're maybe working for the owner, and you actually have conversations about this. So I thought that was very, very interesting. America seems to think higher of small companies than big companies. Not a real surprise. Now let's check out these stats on small companies. So I said, you know, let's go dig into small companies. So now we have a wheel chart here. So some stats that I found very interesting. Of about 6 million small businesses, about 5.4 million of them have between 1 and 19 employees. And 650,000 of them had 20 to 500 employees. That's still called a small business, which I thought was very, very interesting of the 6 million small businesses in America. But check these stats out. 99.9% of businesses are actually small businesses. There's so many of them versus the Targets and the Costcos and things like that. And they, of 33.2 million businesses, remember, a business could be a business license that one plumber has with one truck in Indianapolis, or that one realtor has in Orlando, Florida. That's a business. But there's 6 million that actually employ like 19 people or more. So nearly half of all of the working citizens in the United States work for a small business. 46.4% of us work for small businesses versus large businesses. Isn't it interesting? 61.7 million of us work for a business that's got less than 250 people in it, defined as small businesses. Then what's interesting, do you know how many jobs small businesses have added in the last 25 years? Almost 13 million jobs. So that's like adding, almost 2 million, 500,000 new jobs a year are coming from small businesses. So I thought all of this was very interesting because many of you that are writing in the comments saying, hey, I'm a small business, I do this, and this is what I'm all about. And so I thought I'd cover that this week because some of these surveys and things came out, and I thought it'd be very, very interesting. So if you're a small business, remember, people in town probably think you're more ethical, have higher quality products, and treat your employees better. That's a basis for you to compete in the market with each customer that comes in the door to demonstrate that that's who you are and have a fighting chance against competitors and even some of the larger businesses that are there. And remember, half of America we're all working for or building, as I've built a couple of them and I've sold a couple of them and I've raised money for a couple of them over time. We are small business.